Hey, it's your old pal Lucid Stew again, and this time we're going to talk about the mirror and kaleidoscope sculpting guides and some different ways you might use them, so let's get to it. I like to start out all my sculpts the same way with a sphere placed at the origin from the direction that I entered the scene. This does a couple of things. First, it centers your sculpt at the exact middle of the scene space. This way, if the sculpt is brought into another scene, it will be right by the imp when you place it. It will also be easily accessible to others if you publish it remixable. You may occasionally see sculpts or logic that you have to hunt for in order to find them in their scene. This avoids that. Secondly, this orients your mirror and your kaleidoscope guides. Another thing I like to do is edit the stamp tool, turn the looseness all the way down, and stamp the shape at as high a cost as the tool will allow. In this case, we're doing a sphere, and this will cost 9% graphics thermo. I personally prefer to work tight and then loosen later. For the most part, I find that this helps focus on detail and provides options when it comes time to optimize. Using the mirror tool allows you to create two exact copies of what you're doing on either side of the mirror. It doesn't matter if you're using the stamp tool or the smear tool, positive, negative edits, or what. Everything you do on one side gets copied on the other, perpendicular to that plane. That's important to note because the mirror can be in different orientations depending on how you place that first edit. That's why I put it at the origin from where I came into the scene. If you look at the mirror guide, there are some checkbox options. With clipped mirror off, you can place your edit on either side of the mirror and the copy will appear on the other side. With clipped mirror on, you can only place your original edit on the right side of the mirror from the viewer's perspective. Your other option turns the mirror off and on. I like to keep the mirror on about 99% of the time to retain the perspective of where the copy is going and what orientation I'm working in. However, especially when you're working close to the mirror can get in the way visually. You may find that you like it to always be off, who knows. Alright, let's take a look at the kaleidoscope guide. Thing you might not know, number one, you can use both the mirror guide and the kaleidoscope guide at the same time. The kaleidoscope guide is similar to the mirror guide, but it creates copies based on cuts in an imaginary circle around the center of your first edit, kind of like pieces of a pie. Normally you get one edit per slice, but with the mirror and kaleidoscope guides on simultaneously, each cut in the pie acts like a mirror, so you get twice as many edits. The kaleidoscope guide by itself has the edits exactly between each cut in the pie radially. Combined with the mirror guide, you can place those anywhere, and the edit is reflected on the pie cut. Let me show you some examples. This is mirror and a 5-way kaleidoscope. I'm going to make a quick mandala. Important to note that the kaleidoscope guide supports as many as 32 cuts and as little as 2. Something cool you can do with these is flick the touchpad on your DS4 and randomize the rotation on the tool. This is still mirror and 5-way kaleidoscope, and I'm smearing. It's really fun to combine guides. Same concept and setup, but this time I'm turning the grid on, which will result in a very specific and very precise pattern. Here I'm using a different shape for my edit. Just from messing around, I found that donuts result in an interesting organic pattern. And of course, you're not locked into working in only one dimension. You can get some really interesting results when using a surface snap and layering. You place layers by stopping your smear and then restarting it. That will adjust which surface you're snapping to. And just like before, you can set your tool spinning by flicking the touchpad on your controller for a slightly different result. Who knows what this is? The base of a table or a demented candle holder or something. So one issue with surface snap is getting your edit evenly on the surface you want to alter. This is not a problem with spheres, but every other shape it can be difficult to find that sweet spot. This issue is addressed by turning Keep Upright on in conjunction with Surface Snap. If you check right angles in the Keep Upright bubble, you can flip your shape 90 degrees in relation to the surface to give you a different effect. So for that donut shape, instead of removing a ring, you get a couple of holes connected by a tube. One thing I wanted to show was the inspiration for this video, and that came about from a sculpt of an Atari VCS I've been working on. One cool thing about Keep Upright and Surface Snap combined is that you can match flat surfaces at irregular angles perfectly. So if the surface of this triangle shape is at 45 degrees, that's easily done with the grid on. But what if it's 30 or 15 or 19? You could try measuring everything and duplicating with Precise Move, or use Surface Snap and Keep Upright to match the surface normals. The nice thing about that is you can do it over and over and not have to worry about figuring out the angle each time or remembering or tiny inconsistencies in your estimations. It just works. Just like before, different combinations of guides give different results. Here I'm working with a mirrored 5-cut kaleidoscope, Surface Snap is on, and I'm using Keep Upright. Then I'm using layers of smears to kind of worm my way up to maybe an alien hand or something like that. For this next shape, I'm going to increase the number of kaleidoscope cuts with the rest of the guides the same. When you do this, you can end up with some wonderfully intricate bowls or shields or other decorations. You can then leverage all of that with some blended stamps to smooth everything out. And who knows what this is exactly, but you can get this kind of effect thanks to all of these tool guides. One really cool aspect of doing things like this is that you have lots of hidden detail inside of this sculpt. If we excavate some, we can see all sorts of little nooks and crannies in there. And if we apply some blend, all those overlapping edits give us all sorts of organic surface detail that would be nearly impossible to do on purpose. So the next time you consider doing a sculpt with a really gnarly surface, think about making a big block of this stuff and then subtracting. One last thing I want to show you is using the kaleidoscope guide in combination with other guides to make intricate surfaces on things like railings or poles or detail for crazy mechanical devices. Obviously, the kaleidoscope guide plays a big part, but the way these turn out is heavily influenced by the shape you're subtracting and also the way that Keep Upright adjusts to the surface. Because of this, you have nearly limitless possibilities, but because Keep Upright has a bit of feel to it, you can approach these artistically rather than have them be totally random. And I don't do it here, but you can throw in all sorts of other concepts like adjusting the size and shape of the edits as you go for various looks. You could also use this in conjunction with logic. In fact, the way that was first done to create a kind of potter's wheel is very similar to this. All of these sculpts in this part have been 1% graphics thermal, so the details are a little muddled, but if you use the sculpture detail tool, you get some really fantastic intricate details on these. If you practiced a little bit, you could probably apply these techniques in genres like science fiction or steampunk. So in this video we looked at sculpture mode guides and how you can use them to create all sorts of useful and interesting surfaces. Honestly, I'm not sure what video I'll be working on next. I was doing a Bring a Dream scene to life video before settling on this one, but I might redo that. Of course, there is plenty to talk about in Dreams, so stay tuned. However, that's all for now. Until next time, I'll see you in the Dreamiverse.